The word terrible is tossed around like a frisbee at a blind picnic. So much so that it's lost its original meaning, like the word literally. Sure, terrible can mean something exceptionally bad, but it also means something that instills terror or is sinister in nature, in essence, of pure evil. See, there's a difference between, ugh, this is terrible, and which is why Ivan was named as such, making for a terrible yet shareable parable. Continuing the trend in this video, Ivan began his reign young, being only 16 when crowned Tsar of all Russia in 1547. His early years as ruler were actually pretty peaceful and progressive. The Tsar had revised law code, established a standing army, and granted the rights of self-government to rural regions. But in 1553, Ivan was stricken with a near-fatal illness. Weak and weary on his deathbed, Ivan requested that his closest nobles swear allegiance to his son in the event of his death. Please, my son.
I require many soggy oats.
What the fuck is that thing? They refused. This prompted Ivan to enact his plan B. Ivan's health eventually recovered, unlike his trust in his supposedly loyal nobles. The Tsar pushed to expand Russian territory with the hope of opening up opportunistic trade routes. Naturally, this instigated several battles of territorial control. Ivan saw many a success, but each at a deep cost of Russian resources. And then in 1558 came the Livonian War, a war aimed at taking control of Old Livonia, which would grant Russia much-needed access to the Baltic Sea. Facing off against the kingdoms of Sweden and Poland, along with Lithuania and other European strengths, Russia was devastated. The cost of this war threw the country into economic ruin, and it was only downhill from there for poor Ivan. Famine and drought ravaged the land, his friggin' wife died, and various betrayals caused the Tsar to spiral into a manic depression, even going as far as writing a letter of resignation from the throne. The nobles, terrified to rule the country themselves, begged for Ivan's return, which he agreed, but on one condition. He would be granted absolute power over every aspect of the country, including, and most importantly, the right to execute any traitors of the crown. They hesitantly agreed. Thus, Ivan returned to power with a tight, unrelenting grip. He immediately established the Oprichniki, his very own personal guard. In exchange for wealth and privilege, these soldiers were Ivan's eyes and ears around the country, given the job of sniffing out any potential disloyalty. That great power remained completely unchecked. Under Ivan's rule, they executed and exiled thousands of nobles, seized their land, and harshly oppressed peasants. And things only got worse. By 1570, the iconic plague, TM, tore through the country, killing thousands by the day. Novgorod, one of Russia's most prominent cities, was crippled by plague, famine, and Ivan's ruthless rulings. Ivan himself feared that the entire city would defect to Lithuania, because yeah, that Livonian War was still going on during all of this, and so he decided to make a preemptive strike. In January of 1570, Ivan's Oprichniki invaded the city and began their reign of terror. Those attempting to escape found it impossible as Ivan's forces had barricaded the city. They were trapped. Captives were tortured for information about their supposed plans for the betrayal of the crown, but none could speak of a truth that didn't exist. Citizens were either burned alive or tied up and thrown into the freezing river, suffocating under the ice. Farms surrounding the city were completely destroyed, condemning any already starving survivors to death without any possible sustenance. By the end of the massacre a few weeks later, thousands of people lay dead in Ivan's wake. Any and all valuables from homes, shops, and churches were stripped, taken back to Ivan's home in Moscow, and divided amongst the Oprichniki soldiers. The Tsar's brutality had truly hit an apex, but it would soon hit a bit too close to home. On November 16, 1581, Ivan got in a heated argument with his 27-year-old son after having savagely beaten his pregnant daughter-in-law Yelena for being inappropriately dressed. The father-son altercation quickly rose to a boiling point, and Ivan lashed out, striking a single, fatal blow across his son's head with a heavy cane. He had killed his own son. Worse yet, Yelena miscarried just hours later due to her injuries. Ivan collapsed to the ground, a broken man, holding his son's corpse. Before him flashed his own life of desolation and despair. After the incident, Ivan became remorseful for his past actions. In his final years, the Tsar had agreed to a truce with Lithuania, finally ending the 24-year-long Livonian War. He tied up all loose ends and made peace with himself, but this didn't stop his physical deterioration. By 1584, Tsar Ivan was a frail man. Although only 53, decades of physical and mental anguish destroyed his body and mind, not to mention long-term effects from mercury addiction. On March 28, 1584, Ivan suffered a stroke and died while playing a game of chess, causing two kings to fall at once.